Be excusing Councilman Warwood this evening. The company works for Bar W. They're receiving some awards tonight for Best Local Hamburger and for the restaurant, and then Best Meat Products for the processing plant. So he's at that award ceremony this evening, so he's not with us. We'll go ahead and convene into regular meeting. JD, can you do the prayer? We kind of get boom. And then the pledge will be by Niall.
Dear Father in heaven, we thank you for the opportunity to be gathered together as a community tonight and as public servants. We are grateful for this opportunity to provide service, and we're thankful for those that plan on attending and commenting tonight. We express gratitude for the community in which we live and the country. We are grateful for all those who serve in our community. Ask thy protection upon each of them. We're grateful for those that have attended tonight and pray that we will be able to have wisdom and that we will be able to make decisions that will be to the betterment of our community. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
You all please rise. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Niall, I got this going for you.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to the council and those in attendance today. On June 20th, at the high school baseball field, we are going to have a reenactment of the first baseball game played not only in Nephi, but it was, at the time, it was believed to have been the first baseball game played west of the Missouri River. The game was held on January 1st, 1875. Now, picture 1875, January 1st. It was a typical winter, just like the one we had. Not very much snow. It didn't get that cold, but they played the game on the ball field out the Pioneer Park. You probably noticed that there's a plaque out there marking where home plate, the original home plate and home field was out there at Pioneer Park. So let me tell you a little bit of how this game got started. Mr. Samuel Gilson, at that time a resident of Nephi, challenged Mr. George Whitmore in the following language. We will play a game of baseball, and I will give you the right to pick your 9 men first. And when you are through, I will pick 9 men from the town at large and beat you. Each man on the winning team was to receive a quarter of beef, which in 1875 was probably a pretty, substantial win anyway. All right, said George, and somewhere in the month of October 1874, they chose their respective ball teams and started to practice. They were to practice about a month, then they were to play the great game. When all the boys were ready to invade the diamond, a controversy arose as to an umpire having no book of rules to use. The game was postponed until spring since they had no means of obtaining a book of rules. There were no railroads or telegraphs or telephones in those days, and they had to send to New York by mail for a book of rules of the game. Well, lo and behold, this book arrived December 27th, 1974 or 1874. So they had given up all hopes of playing the game until the following spring. However, when the book did come, It put new life into the boys as well as the principal, so they thought they would play it anyway. A light snow had fallen the last night of the old year, but everybody wanted this great game to come off, so Will and Robert Piper and George Kendall, those of you that are from Levan may recognize that name. He is a direct descendant of George Kendall that scraped the snow off the entire square. Like I say, located on Main Street between 5th and 6th North, and now known as Pioneer Park. They were to have started the game at 10 o'clock, but it was 10:30 before they got underway. Charles Foote was the umpire. Those of you from Nephi have probably seen the Foote name prominent around. John Chapman and Alma Haig were the scorers. Chapman's, Haig's, they're all in the history. The notorious game took from 10:30 until 3:30. However, the score didn't pan out like Mr. Gilson had thought it would. The Gilsons scored 17 and Whitmore's scored 87 points. So the townspeople at that time were so enthused, they turned out en masse to witness the game. Stories that have since come to light in the Times News and different things said there wasn't a soul in town that wasn't at the ball game. So you can imagine this, we're talking 1875, January 1st, 10 o'clock in the morning when they played this game. So on the 20th of June, we're going to reenact that game. We have younger guys that are playing on the Gilson's team and the Whitmore team, and they're going to represent the players that was on the teams at the time. So let me give you a rundown of who was on each team. So Walter P. Reed was the pitcher for the Whitmores, and Sam Gilson was the pitcher for the Gilson team. L.L. Hudson was the catcher for the Whitmores. Samuel Henroyd was first base. Chaz Haynes was second base. George Whitmore played third base. David Bigler played shortstop. Joseph DeParty played right field. James Belliston played left field. And Edward Oakey played center field. A lot of those names you'll recognize throughout history, and there's still a lot of those descendants that live in Nephi today. On the Gilson's team, as I said, Sam Gilson was the pitcher. Jabez Nolan was the catcher. Now, in a note, Billy Sperry, again, was this catcher for Gilson. But after one inning had been played, he was called home because of the arrival of his son, and Jabez Nolan took over as the catcher in the second inning. So Jabez Nolan was the catcher. Abe Boswell, first base. R.C. Blackett, second base. James Black, third base. Shortstop was Jacob Bigler, so the Jacob and David played on opposite teams. Alex Piper was in right field. Harvey Mangum was in left field, and Joseph Park was in center field. So as you can see, in 1875, the names sound very familiar to what we have in today. So in the game on the 20th of June, we're going to reenact the game. We've got players that's going to have old style uniforms with those names on the back of their jerseys, and we'll do a bio. We have a bio on each one of the players that played back in 1875, and then we'll also talk about the kids that are representing those players. So the biggest thing is that I want to encourage is we want to get as many people out there as possible.
Yep.
To the game. The mayor's going to throw out the first pitch. We've got the band. The high school band is going to play. The American Legion is going to present the flag. So we've got a lot of things. It's an old-fashioned snack bar with hot dogs and Cracker Jacks. Interesting point. They tried to get Cracker Jacks in a box. They don't make them anymore. So they had to settle for Cracker Jacks in a bag. Still comes with a prize, but no Cracker Jacks in a box. We'll have a bubble gum blowing contest sometime in the second or third inning, in between innings. And like I say, we'll introduce the players, and we're hoping to just make a really big thing. The Daughters of the Utah Pioneers and the Nephi Blues, which why I wore the shirt today, got together and come up with this idea. The mayor helped out tremendously, but everybody's been working really hard behind the scenes to put game on the map. What we're hoping to do is, if we can get a big crowd there and get some enthusiasm, we've been talking about maybe every 2 or 3 years, we might do another one. And maybe we'll dig into the archives a little bit and see, because in the 1900s, from the 1900s through about 1930, Nephi was a hotbed for baseball. A lot of baseball teams from back east, professional teams, came and played teams in Nephi. So there's a lot of history of baseball being played in Nephi. And we're hoping to generate that enthusiasm for the game on the 20th of June. It'll be at the Juab High School ballpark. We'll have the concession stand there. We're going to have posters of all the information of each one of the players that has all the information we've been able to gather on each player. And we'll have them up there along the walkway into the game and stuff. So there'll be a lot of things going on. But like I say, most of all, we're just encouraging as many people as we can get out to come to the game on the 20th. And we're excited to put it on.
I'll make a suggestion. I think it might be a good idea if you could maybe go through the local cemeteries, find out if any of the original players
are
interred there.
There's quite a few of them that are buried here. A lot of them left here and went to Salt Lake. However, Mr. Whitmore became a state senator representing Juab County. There's 2 or 3 mayors out of this list of players. There was a couple of police chiefs from this list. And most all of these guys, when these teams were put together, most of the guys that played were between 20 and 27, 28 years old. So after the game, a lot of them stuck around, stayed in Nephi, became prominent citizens, and was members, highly sought, highly respected members of the city back in the day. So,
yeah, I was just thinking if you had a player, portraying Joe Blow in the game, any of the players, and you happen to know where Joe Blow has been laid to rest.
Yeah, we have all that information, and I will give that on the bios when I read the bios on each player.
Yeah, if you could have the player portraying Joe Blow in this game, photographed standing next to the grave of the original Joe Blow, it might be.
That's it. I'll take that to the committee. We'll talk about that. That might be something. So there's extra cards up there talking about the game. If you want to pick one up And like I say, I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
And June 20th, put it on your calendar.
There you go.
Thanks, man.
So
Thanks,
is it a
man.
real game, or do they reenact the same?
No, it's a
Gore.
It's a real game.
it's a real game.
Okay, it's not a- okay.
We're playing, what we have envisioned is we're gonna play approximately 2 hours. And we're gonna see where we're at in the game at that time. And we're gonna try and get a feel from the crowd, if they're tired or if they're bored, or if they want it to be over with, or if they're liking it, and we'll continue on. So we're gonna do a little bit between every inning. Like I say, we're gonna have a bubble blowing contest. We're gonna talk about different players, and we're gonna introduce, like I say, the first time up to bat, we'll talk about the original players. The second time up to bat, we're gonna talk about the kids that are portraying those players. So June 20th, put it on your calendar, 10 o'clock.
We'll use real wood bats. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. We'll move into approval of minutes. Consent agenda.
So I'll make the motion that we approve the council meeting minutes from 5/19/2026 and the approval of claims.
I'll second that.
JD with the first, Jeremy with the second. Got it?
Hopefully it'll be on the recording, yes. So, yes, thank you for mentioning that on the recording.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we're going into the first public hearing on the amended budget. Now is the time allotted for public comments on specific items on the agenda. Please keep your comments respectful. At this time, the council will listen to any comments that the public may have. This is not a question and answer session for this and for the city staff. And the city staff will follow up with any items as directed by city council. Comments would be limited to 3 minutes.
Are we at that point, or are we reviewing the consent agenda, Mayor? Or are we reviewing the budget? We're doing the budget now,
Yeah,
right?
the public hearing for the budget.
But we're not taking comment during public hearing, are we?
For the specific.
Oh,
item.
sorry, I read the wrong one.
That's
You're
okay.
right. Thank you. Sorry.
Well, public comment is down on item 11.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think he's reading the one for the public hearing.
Yeah, for the public. I meant to read the one for the general. Yeah. So I read the right one, right?
It sounded like.
Okay, great.
All right. Okay. I'll turn the time over to Seth, and then we'll have that for public
And then
comment.
Mayor, Leslie mentioned, if you wouldn't mind, when we do start the actual public hearing, just state the opening and closing times
Okay.
for the record, so she can write it in the minutes.
7:19.
And then, but I'll do a quick presentation, and then we can open it up for the public comment. So, as it is each year, our amended budget is on the city website. So if you just go under the government tab, finance, and then there's a link on the left for budget. And then if you go into other budget information, there's the amended budget for last year, and then the one that we're proposing for the current year that we're in. So we're on a fiscal year basis. So our budget year actually ends June 30th. So we're in the FY 2026 budget that will end at the end of this month. And then we'll start the FY 2027 budget July 1. So this amended budget is for the year that we're about to close. There was just a few items of change, and we've listed those under the general fund. So there's kind of a narrative at the beginning that describes what was increased and why. And then the numbers are found below. For some of these expenses, the revenues were matching, and so that just meant they just had more demand for their services, like for golf. And then also for the police, they had some additional expenses, but they also had some additional sales of old vehicles that compensated for some of the additional costs that they had. Our non-departmental was really the one that kind of led the charge on some of the overages. We did have a little bit more in our youth court because we did turn over all the youth court revenues that we had to date to the high school. So that had shifted over to them. They're handling the accounting of it and everything now instead of the city. And so we were shifting everything over to them this year, which we normally would not do. The mayor's task force, we just had some additional things this year that we've put into that line item, which is kind of just a general catch-all for a lot of the programming or things that you'd like to see done. We do have a little bit more in contingent property taxes, which we normally don't have, but we did this year. And then our auditing services were just slightly more. We did have to do a single audit this year because of some revenues that were received at the airport. And then our Miss Nephi and fireworks items were a little bit higher. We are anticipating a little bit more costs this year for the America 250 celebration. So we're just budgeting a little higher for that. And then our technology services has just continued to go up. So we need to really look at that. Partly this is just growing pains, and partly there's inflation on some of the things that we're purchasing. There's just costs going up all the way around on about every contract that we have for technology. And it's all lumped under this account for the whole city, including for the enterprise funds, which I'll explain in a little bit. So they actually pay for some of these indirect services from the general fund. So all of our technology budget comes out of there. And then for the electric fund, we just had some additional cost overages from the project that kind of carried over to this year, but that project is closed out. We don't anticipate those things going forward. For capital projects, we had the payment to the school district for the purchase of the Bishop Storehouse. We had been holding the money from the bond until we worked some things out with the church. They finally worked those out, and we made that payment to them for that. And then the CRA just needed to be increased. The payment to the developer was a little bit more this year because the revenues were higher, which is good because that means that will get paid off even faster. So happy to go into any more detail on any of those line items, but that is the proposed amended budget. At this time, we'll have the public hearing scheduled for tonight. Action on the amended budget will take place in the next regular meeting.
Any questions? Okay, at 7:24, I'll open up for the public hearing related to FY 2026 amended budget. Any comments? Okay, seeing no comments. At 7:22 and 30 seconds or 7:23:24, we'll go ahead and close that. And then we'll move to item number 6, the property tax impact schedule.
So this is not a public hearing, but it is something that we were required to include as a separate agenda item on the agenda for tonight by state law. So they've had some new state law that just came out after the last legislative session for anyone going through the truth in taxation process. And so part of that requirement is that we have to have the property tax impact schedule as a separate item on the agenda. And so it is actually in our budget document as well. So after we had talked about it at our last couple meetings, we had uploaded it into our budget document online. So that's also under that other budget information header on the left here, if you're on the budget. And so this will have an impact on the next public hearing, which is the public hearing about our tentative 2027 budget. You are in a middle of a 2-year budget, so normally we wouldn't even mention or talk much about the budget, but because we're proposing a property tax increase for the next budget, then this is a requirement by the state to have in there. So I'm gonna just make that a touch bigger if I can here. And so it's basically a small narrative saying, what is our current rate, and then what is our current revenues, and then what are our revenues after we have proposed the additional tax increase. And so this would be the additional revenue with the tax increase. This is the amount of revenue that we anticipate with the tax increase. And then this is the percentage of that we would see. And this is probably the one that's going to be the most misunderstood by a lot of people. That's a large percentage. There's several reasons for that. One, we haven't raised property taxes in probably my lifetime, and I just turned 50. So Nephi City's never raised property taxes as far back as anyone can really remember. So we've never really had to do this. And so when we look to do something, that percentage is just going to look big because our property tax rate right now is pretty low. And then the second thing is that we are only a portion of the entire tax bill. So the amount of the total tax bill that people receive, Nephi City makes up about 5% of that total bill. And the 112% is on that 5%, not on the total bill. So that is probably something you'll get questions about. That will be one thing that we are going to try and make very clear to the public, because you look at your property tax bill and it's thousands of dollars, and then you see 112% and you think, holy cow, this is a huge increase on my thousands of dollar bill. That's not the case. Most of us are paying a couple $100 to the city, and it's on that portion only. So we do an estimate on, what that tax increase would look like per year on an average primary residence of about $450,000, valued at $450,000, and that would be about $140 a year, or roughly $11.50 a month. And that's kind of the number that had been floated out there by the chief in some of the materials that he put out there. It's one of the things we've tried to kind of maintain is about $11 a month. And then if it was a business valued at the same amount, it would be $256, because they're valued at 100% of their value, whereas the primary residence gets a discount for being a primary residence. So then the next percentage is the amount of increase to your total bill, which would be around 6%. If you were on a home or a commercial property. And then this is just a summary of the budget of what that would look like, the affected accounts. So we're adding in the amount under property taxes. And I'll explain this when we get to the next budget item. It's not under the property tax line item because the state law requires us to put it under a different line item, even though we don't receive, because you have to account for the amount that you're receiving in a different line. And you have to show that it's being accounted for in a different line, and you can't spend it until after your public hearing and after that tax rate has gone through in November. So even though we don't actually collect any property taxes until December, they're forcing us in the budget to put a different line item as if we're saving it in a different line. One of those state rules that I think needs to be amended because it's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, I'll show you where that's at when we look at the amended budget or the tentative budget. We are accounting for some rental income because this is for a potential police station, and we think that we've got some partnerships with the state who will help fund that building, and so we're accounting for that rental income per year as well. Those will go into the revenues. Then we're going to make a lease payment to our local building authority, which will build the police station, and then make a bond payment on that because we'll go into debt for that. And then if there's a narrative about what this is for, what I just described, which is the police station, if there is some, and the council kind of made this clear. Actually, we're gonna use these funds first for one patrol officer, And then the remaining will go to the police station. So we're accounting for that in that narrative right there.
I was gonna say, the only word I would remove from that is potentially.
Okay. Yep, we can change that. Aside from that, that's just an agenda item. There's no action that needs to be taken. I just had to have it as a separate agenda item so we can move to the next one if you want there.
All right, we'll go ahead and move to item number 7, right? Yeah.
So the biennial budget is online. The only difference that has been out there, the 2-year budget's already been out there, but the only difference is what I just described in that property tax income statement. And then one of the things you will notice under the general fund revenues, let's see, I'm going to go into the details here. So if you go into the general fund revenues, you will see under the annual amounts. So this we chose the delinquent taxes account line item because I just didn't want to create a new one. This is really just a budgeting requirement by the state, and I didn't want to use a new account number just for this one-time thing. So we're accounting for it here in the delinquent taxes. When we receive it, and if the property tax goes through, then we will move we'll amend the budget and put it back up into property taxes. So that's the only difference. And then all the other things are described as I described them in that property tax impact schedule within the budget. It's just harder to find in the budget if you're not used to cruising around and looking for all those accounts. So I actually really like the property tax impact schedule because I think it summarizes everything for a resident pretty concisely, but it is all in the major budget document as well. Happy to answer questions, or we could move into the public hearing, Mayor.
Any questions? Okay. We'll move into the public hearing portion of the FY 2027 tentative budget. Now is the time allotted for public comment on specific items on the agenda. Please keep your comments respectful. At this time, the council will listen to any comments that the public may have. This is not a question and answer session and the city council will follow up with any items, city staff, will follow up with any items as directed by the city council. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. I'll go ahead and open that time at 7:33. Thank you. Okay, at 7:33, seeing no comments.
I'm coming.
Oh,
Mike Morgan, Chief of Police, Nephi City. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. We are here tonight to discuss a critical investment in the safety and future of Nephi City. A proposed property tax increase dedicated to constructing a modern police department building and hiring at least one additional officer. My recommendation is 2, because of the possibility that we might not have a chance to hire another one for many years if the state passes a law prohibiting the city of raising property taxes in the future. And so right now we have that opportunity. Next year we might not, or the future. The need for a new facility. Our current headquarters was built in 1954 as a seminary building. While it was served us since 2004, it is no longer suitable for modern policing. We face severe space constraints and security vulnerabilities. However, this is a collaborative solution. The new building will also house the Utah Highway Patrol, Driver's License Division, and Probation and Parole. These partners will pay yearly leases, offsetting the cost to our citizens. Beyond the building, we must address our manpower. Nephi has not hired a new patrol officer since before 2007 when I took over. Yet our call volume has tripled. With the growth of local businesses and the heavy traffic on I-15, our current staff is stretched thin. We are currently relying on compensatory time because we lack the personnel to allow for actual time off. Adding 2 officers will allow us to move from a reactive stance to a proactive one, ensuring the safety both of our officers and our community. Nephi City has not raised its portion of property taxes since the 70s. The other two entities, the school district and the county, have been the one that's raised the property tax, and that's why you see an increase in your property taxes in the past. While you may see the tax bills fluctuate, the city only receives 5 to 6% of those funds. The modest increase is focused investment, essential services. I am grateful for you, the mayor, and the council to recognize these desperate needs. And I just want to let everybody know that this is the chief of police coming to you and requesting your assistance to help protect the citizens of the community. And you are the first 5, 6 that have come together as a group and listened to me. And I've had other city councilmen and mayors also wanting to help, but nobody's been willing to step up and take that opportunity as a group. And I want to just thank each and every one of you for putting your necks out there for me and our police department and the citizens of Nephi City. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Any other public comment? Okay, so at 7:36, we'll end the public hearing then. Item number 8 will be the public hearing on FY 2027 enterprise fund transfers.
Okay. So these transfers have been in the budget document since last year. We're just required to hold a public hearing on them each year. And so this letter has gone out in our utility bill newsletter. And these are the amounts for the upcoming budget, FY 2027 budget. What an enterprise fund is a business type fund. And in our case, it's the utility funds. So the utilities are water, sewer, electric, natural gas, and solid waste. So those are the utilities that Nephi City is in charge of. The purpose of these funds is they're called a dividend transfer because the city owns the utilities, and they are reflective as a dividend essentially back to the general city for the investments that have been made in those utilities and for the use of the right-of-way. Most private utilities have to pay what's called a franchise fee for the use of the right-of-way. That's going to come into play in a discussion later on tonight. So just keep that in mind. But private companies pay a franchise fee for the use of the right-of-way. Our utilities pay for the use of the right-of-way through this dividend transfer because that is space that you can't, once they're using it, you can't use it for anything else. And so the residents should be paid for that space on the city right-of-way. So these are the proposed dividend transfers and the percentage of expenditures that they're reflective of. Those percentage of expenditures, it fluctuates, and I actually think that's a ridiculous thing to put in there. It doesn't really tell anybody anything. The reason why like the sewer fund is so low is because we have capital projects in the sewer fund planned. And so the expenses go up when we have a capital projects plan. And so then your dividend transfer is a lower percentage. And so it doesn't really make sense, but the state makes us put it in there. And so there it is.
Okay. At 7:39, we'll open up the public hearing on FY 2027 enterprise fund transfers. I have to read this every time?
You don't have to.
Okay. You've heard it twice now. If you have a question, I'll read it again. But yeah, if you have 3 minutes, if you want to express some concerns in this area or any other area, please let us know. And the time is now yours. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:40. Okay. Public hearing, FY 2025 salary adjustments to executive municipal officers. 2027, thanks.
So this is another requirement that the state put in just a few years ago. We have to put in the amount of budgeted salary adjustments for the executive team or officers of the city. And these are the list of those officers and department heads. So we put in the budgeted amount. So this is actually a broader discussion that we can kind of segue into as well. That's what's assumed in the FY 2027 budget of a 3% wage increase. As you well know, inflation's been very, very high the last several years. We were not anywhere close to meeting those inflationary numbers with our wage increases during those years. We've tried to play catch up each year since then, but this actually matches the CPI for our area, so we're actually kind of on par with where it should be. The one difference is the city attorney, and that's because we're only paying a portion of the city attorney salary, and that's just the budgeted amount, the difference between FY27 and FY26, because you have to put in the difference between the budget. And so that doesn't necessarily reflect the salary increase, but that's the budget that we had in there. So that's why it's different from some of the others.
Any questions? Okay, I will open up public comment for FY 2027 salary adjustments for the executive, I can't even say it, municipal officers. And that's at 742. Okay. Seeing no comments, I will close it at 7:42 also.
Mayor, just one quick thing. Just want to make clarification too, is that these are just what we're statutorily required to. I mean, the rest of the employees and stuff will receive a similar wage increase as well. It's just want to make that.
Yes.
Just make that clear. Just make that
Correct. Yeah. The
So-
state law only requires to show executive municipal officers, and so those are department heads, myself, our city attorney, that kind of thing. The other ones, and according to our pay plan, what we typically do is we'll have a cost of living adjustment in the budget, but then we also do surveys on the positions themselves and determine if we're at market. And then we try to add in additional percentage at times if we feel like they're not at market. Sometimes those are not budgeted, but we're trying to meet the requirements of a salary and be competitive in the market that we're in. And we're in a tough market. We're a rural community on the edge of a metropolitan area. And so other communities like Santa Clara, North Logan, Brigham City, some of these other communities are similar because they're near a metropolitan area, but they're not as big as us and they don't have a tax base. So it's very tough to compete against cities like Lehigh and Provo when you have a tax base of 7,000 people. So,
just think so. I just wanted to
Yeah.
I just wanted to have that, clear for the public especially. So
We'll move on to item number 10, Community Impact Board Project Hearing.
So this is not a budget-related public hearing. As part of the police station project, we are approaching the Community Impact Board, which is a board made up of elected individuals from around the state that will oversee funds that are received from around the state for mineral oil and gas leases that occur on those lands. And those companies pay a fee to extract those minerals and other things from those areas. And they pay the fee for the impacts that they have on those communities. Those fees go to the Community Impact Board. And then that board can then lend or grant that money out to the affected communities. We're in a county that is affected by those, and so we can apply to the board for funding. And so we're asking this year, we've actually had this project on our CIB list for a number of years. We're just trying to find ways to fund it or to make it happen. So we are asking for $7.5 million in CIB funds. Love it if that was a grant. Likelihood of that is probably pretty low. So we'll probably get a loan, but the reason why that's a good thing from the CIB board is they typically give out interest rates that are significantly less than market. So we would get a loan amount for less than we would if we just went out and borrowed funds. And so we have to have a public hearing and give the minutes of that public hearing to the CIB board as part of our application. We've already turned in our application, and they said that's okay if you have the public hearing after the application date. So the application date was yesterday. We got it turned in. We have confirmation it's turned in, but we do need to have a public hearing on the inclusion of the police project in a CIB application for funding. So that's what this is, public hearing is about.
Any questions? Okay, at 7:46, I'll open it to comments on public hearing related to community impact board project hearing. Okay. Seeing no comments, I'll close that also at 7:46. And I do know we have one person for public comment, so we'll move to that section of it. Chris, do you want to?
Yeah. So I don't have a speech or anything put together, but I wanted to introduce myself to the council, the mayor, and the citizens of Nephi. If you don't know who I am, my name's Chris Painter. I'm running for sheriff of Juab County to be the next sheriff. Just wanted to give a little rundown. I want to start by saying that I am proud to say I am from Juab County, Nephi, Utah. It's where I was born and raised, lifelong resident, graduate of Juab High School. I had a unique opportunity growing up. My dad was the former sheriff of Juab County. Through my childhood, I watched him as a deputy. Firsthand knowledge of what to expect going into this career. I've been with the Juab County Sheriff's Office for over 20 years now. There I've held about every role that there is at the Sheriff's Office. I started off as a corrections deputy and dispatcher. From there, I was a patrol deputy. Then I was also assigned to a joint criminal apprehension task force with the Deputy U.S. Marshal Services. I was on that for a little over 4 years. If you're not familiar with that, we served high-risk warrants throughout Juab, Utah County, a little bit of Salt Lake County. From there, I was also a sergeant on our patrol division, and now I'm our commander, our lieutenant over the patrol division. I've got extensive training. I'm currently our firearms rifle instructor, taser instructor. I've attended several leadership courses throughout my career. I graduated the FBI Executive Command College. I attended the FBI Leadership Institute, graduated there, and recently, now Sheriff retired, Sheriff Anderson, he signed me up for a leadership and police organization. That was a 2-week course, and I successfully completed that. So some of the visions that I would like to see as the next sheriff, priorities internally, we need to boost our morale, our culture, not only with the sheriff's office, but in law enforcement in general. I would be more than willing to, work better or tighter relationships with all public safety. That includes fire, EMS, and Nephi City Police. Whatever's best for the whole entire community, Nephi County altogether. I also would like to see, develop a mental and physical wellness plan for all the deputies. Being in law enforcement, it's a strenuous job. We've got to have a way to, clear our heads, clear our minds. That would be a priority to me. A few other things, as the sheriff, the three main roles are public safety, humanitarian service, and national security. Those would be my top priorities, in no particular order. Is that 3 minutes?
Yeah, that's
That
three.
was quick.
Thanks, Sheriff.
I would be honored to have your vote and your support. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
I know a few people walked in a few minutes late. Did anybody else want to have general public comment? Okay. All right, we'll move on to a planning item. Sean, am I turning the time over to you at this point, or Seth?
No, I'll take
Okay.
this one too. Although I could use a drink.
Want water?
Not the kind of drink we're going to talk about next.
I was gonna say, that's the next one.
I got it, Sean.
So we went over this last week, which is our transportation master plan. And we've proposed an ordinance to adopt that plan. I've got Matthew Leonard on the line as well. He was the one that came and presented that to you last week. Let me just bring up that. Right there. So we do have a website that kind of shows this master plan. We have it in written format, which is this link right here. So the ordinance actually has the written plan attached as an exhibit. But the master plan is going to live on our website. I'll just take a look. Thank you so much. We feel like that's a more user-friendly method to show people some of these plans, and rather than a PDF document. And it's probably going to be easier to convert to ADA access when some of those rules go into effect. No one's really still figured out how to make PDFs ADA accessible. So that's going to just be a big challenge coming up. But I don't have the whole presentation, and I think Matthew's just here for questions. We did go over this in detail last time. What I think I will show is just this maps portion, which I think is what everyone would be interested in if they were to get on the transportation master plan and take a look. So you can see over here some of the work that had been done on the left side for major arterials and some of those roads when we did the county master plan. Over here on the right is where we kind of zoomed in and started looking at more localized roads. And one of the directions from the council when we did the general plan was to try to maintain the grid system as much as we could. That is tough to do when you can't plat every block like they did on the original Nephi city blocks. So we just have to kind of work with development as it comes in to maintain that grid structure. It may not be perfect, and we're going to have some hits and misses, and there won't be connections, like maybe we would want to see. But sometimes that might not be a bad thing. Like right now, we have crossings over every culvert on every road that goes along Salt Creek and the Hollow. That's a lot of money to maintain every year, and maybe we could do without a few of those and still get by. And that's kind of the assumption we've made as we've migrated west and we're planning those roads, is that we don't need a crossing at every single grid infrastructure or grid road for those roads. We'll just have strategic crossings so that's less money to maintain. We are assuming kind of a east or a north-south connection on the west side as development occurs out there. A lot of that's going to run kind of by the sewer ponds here and eventually connect down to the freeway, where we're also anticipating a future freeway exit. So we would potentially have 4 freeway exits instead of the 3 that we have now. Most cities would kill for 1. So the fact that we have 4 potential exits just puts Nephi City in a good position. Sometimes the police think it's a bad position because not always the nicest people get off on the freeway. But from an economic standpoint, it can be a good position for the city to be in. And so I think for the public, if they're interested on where we're planning on future roads and major arterials, this hopefully will be a great tool to use to kind of see where we'd like to plan those things, both north, south, and east, west connections. The railroad is a big challenge, so we're always trying to work around crossings of the railroad. Those are not easy to obtain or to improve. And then what we're proposing tonight is an actual ordinance that would adopt the master plan and also adopt it as a portion of your general plan as kind of a living document. Because if we went in and did an update 3 or 4 or 5 years from now and changed this around, that would just be a living part of your general plan. It would refer back to this. And so happy to go into any more detail, and Matthew's on the line if you want to ask him any more questions. is from Jones and DeMille, presented those things last week. But otherwise, we've got that ordinance before you that would essentially be adopting that as part of our city general plan.
So when you pulled it up from the tab, you had it opened already. Will you maybe show how to find it from? I tried on my phone and was unsuccessful. Shauna's saved the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not directly linked under our website right now. It's just off the agenda. So
Okay.
if you were on tonight's agenda and clicked on that link, you could get on there. We're gonna have that as a link, probably in a number of places on our website,
Okay.
but it's gonna fall under kind of where our city code is as well. So you'll be able to look at our general plan, our transportation plan, our city code. It's all gonna be kind of right there under those links. But it'll probably be individually under the city planning, city code and planning documents,
Okay.
under the government tab.
Okay, perfect. Is there any other questions?
On this, the signature page, I'm just gonna show you, it says Lisa Bruff on there. We might want to change that to
It
Leslie.
sure does. I would just recommend that we
Just
make
before
that
it's
change to
signed.
Leslie Anderson if you make a motion to approve the ordinance, so. Yep, I think I copied that from an old ordinance with our general plan, and I missed having Lisa, I guess.
Well,
So, but that's a good catch. Thank you.
with that, with the change, I'll make a motion that we approve or adopt
Yeah. Mhm.
ordinance 06-02-2026 transportation master plan.
I'll second. Okay, try with the first one, Tate with the second. This is a
will
roll
be
call.
roll call, yes, so.
All right.
I will call it out. Counselor Cowan.
Aye.
Counselor Douglas.
Aye.
Counselor Callaway.
Aye.
Counselor Parity.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
We should second.
I will Tate. Okay, we did all of 12, right?
Yes, I just had additional links in there for informational purposes. So the ordinance was number one, and then the hard copy of the plan, which is an exhibit to the ordinance, is just attached to it if you wanted to look at it. It's 89 pages, so I wasn't going to go through all 89 pages, but it's available for the public if they want to read it. And then the B is just the link to that website. So.
Okay. So we'll move on to number 13, liquor license public comment. Turn it over to you.
Yeah, so this is a requirement that we have. This is a requirement that we have by the state. They really truly govern everything when it comes to liquor, but they do require the local government to have a public hearing on a liquor license that's been requested. And so the Bar W Steakhouse has requested a liquor license, and we have to go through this process from an individual city standpoint, from a political subdivision standpoint. Our main check is to just make sure they've checked all the boxes at the state. That's really all we're looking at. But one of those boxes is that we have to accept public comment for the request for a liquor license from a restaurant or from any organization that wants to have a liquor license. And so it's Bar W is the one requesting, and I think they do have some individuals here tonight that might present some things or answer questions, and then we can take public comment.
You guys are on.
Do you want us to present? Should we present something?
If you want to present anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So should I come up?
Rock,
Yeah.
paper, scissors.
Okay, we'll go up. Okay.
Sorry, we're moving that.
We don't know what we're doing. No, we do know what we're doing, but not here.
Not in this setting.
Yeah, so we put a liquor license in. Our goals are to be a world-class steakhouse that can be comparable to anything, not just in the state, but also the nation and the world. And so in order to do that, it is a request that we've had. It's also, we have goals to get things like a James Beard Award and things like that for the next year to elevate us as well, bring more to the community, people from all over, more events, more things like that. And it just draws more clientele, brings them to the hotels here, other businesses as well. So we want to be supportive of that. And with that, just have a full liquor license where we can have elevated cocktails paired with our entrees and go for this James Spirit Award.
Yeah, our focus still remains to be a restaurant.
Mhm.
This was just enhance our yeah.
Okay.
Are there any questions or?
No questions?
Okay.
Makes sense.
Can I get the names just for minutes?
Yes, Emily Air.
I know you.
And Nicole Tittenser.
How do you spell your last name?
Tittensor.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. I'll open it up to, and this is a second license that we've actually had in town. The other one went well as far as I know, and from the state level, haven't had any concerns. So I will open it up to the public if there's any comments at this time related to this request. Do I need to set a time on this one too?
I would for the minutes, yeah.
Okay,
for
8:01. Okay, seeing no comments, at 8:01, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. So the next step is the chief has to get with them, do a check to make sure they're checked all the boxes for the state.
Yep.
And then, yeah. Okay, all right. See you guys.
Thank you.
Hi.
We'll move on to item number 14.
The next item, Mayor and Council, is our Nebo Heights sewer lining project. This is, that infrastructure is aging pretty badly up there. It's a concrete sewer system that was installed in 1978, and there's some crumbling parts, roots are encroaching in there, and it is the lone subdivision in Nephi City where the infrastructure is in the backyards. That was a experiment that was allowed back then and has since not been allowed in any other subdivision. So we don't do that anymore. But because of that, this is going to be a challenging one. Rather than digging up the infrastructure in everyone's backyard, there's some new technology out there called sewer lining, where they essentially place a kind of a plastic tube in the existing sewer line, inflate it, because when they put it in, it's kind of a more pliable material. They inflate it and then they UV it to make it harden and in place, and then they go put these little robots down there and they cut out the laterals, and you've got yourself basically a brand new sewer line in there. So hopefully minimally invasive to the folks that are there. I'll be one of those folks, so I'll tell you how it goes. Anyway, we did get bids from a number of folks. I think we had 4 bids that came in, and 3 were under the engineer's estimate, and the one that we got was a great bid. They have pretty good reviews from people that we have talked to, and it's Red Pine Construction. Just to kind of put it out there, the engineer's bid was somewhere around 1.1 million, and they bid 682,000. So we came in well under where our engineer estimate was. I do think there are some contractors hungry for work, which kind of was in our favor, because all 3 of those top bids came in under our engineer's estimate. So that was really good, which then just helps our sewer rates, because we don't have to adjust sewer rates for projects like this when they come in under bid. So we are recommending awarding the bid to Red Pine Construction in the amount of $682,882.
Any questions?
No.
Okay,
Let's get her done.
looking for a motion then.
I'll make the motion and that we approve the award of the bid for the sewer lining project to Red Pine Construction, the amount of $682,882.
I'll second.
Count with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 15.
We have been using a contract through a company called GSBS for the design of our police station or public safety building. And, that we had a kind of a bulk charge that was based on the cost estimate. And we really felt like moving forward, it would be better if we went forward on a time and materials basis. So this contract modification basically does that. They have their rates in there as an exhibit, and they will just be billing based on time and materials. So we'll have a little bit more control over how we move forward. And we are recommending approval of that modification, the contract with GSBS.
Any questions? Okay, be looking for a motion for that.
Oh, go ahead.
Alright, I'll do this.
You
Alright, I'll make the motion that we pass public safety GSBS contract modification.
I'll second it.
Okay, Callaway with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Administrative updates.
I don't want to steal the mayor's thunder if he talks about this, but we did go out to the open house of the National Guard Armory today out there in by the airport. They also broke ground on a vehicle maintenance building or field maintenance
Yeah,
building.
yeah.
They made that very clear. It's going to be called a field maintenance building. And so they were doing that as well. It's a 30-acre site. You're using about 12 of it right now. And they're going to already expand to the south with this field maintenance structure that they're building. And they were actually already underway, but they did have a groundbreaking today. It was a little nostalgic for me. I was a member of the 1457th Engineering Battalion when I was in the National Guard in my younger years. And the original headquarters building is right over here by our Veterans Memorial. Then they moved and they've had branches in different companies in different areas. I was in the headquarters company in American Fork, and now they have moved back to their hometown of Nephi. So it's kind of cool to see the logo that I used to wear on my uniforms when I could fit in them. And so it's kind of fun for me and nostalgic for me to watch that. But that is an open center now, and they'll be holding drills and activities there, and they have a lot nicer equipment than they had when I was in the Guard.
I also went out there, but I was a little disappointed in the fact that they didn't have a lot of memorabilia of the armory when it was here. I don't know what happened there, because there was a lot of stuff floating around when they closed, and I don't know what happened to it, where it ended up. You know, there was a lot of plaques and a lot of pictures and stuff of the guys that served here for all those years. And walking around, I just didn't see a whole lot of.
You did the full tour then?
Yeah. So
Did you do the full tour? Okay, because I was going to say there was a lot of rooms that had a lot of, but there wasn't a lot of our stuff in there.
yeah, I didn't see a lot of stuff from this armory, you know, back of the guys that was there.
It's probably sitting in a few
My
people's houses.
father-in-law, my son, my grandson, all at one time or another was part of the 1457. So
Anything else?
No, I don't think so. There'll just be a need for a closed session.
Okay.
When we get there.
Charlie?
So I also was down at the open house today, and it was nostalgic for me for just a different reason. I didn't serve in that battalion, but my last memory of our armory over here was seeing our servicemen from Nephi, and surrounding areas, not just Nephi, but head off to Desert Storm. And I remember riding a school bus from the school to come over because my 6th grade teacher was Norm Wood, who was part of that group. And so I remember saying goodbye to him there. And so then I turned around today and I saw Norm Wood down at the building today. And so that was kind of cool. And also Cam Wright, I remember, was part of that group as well, and he was also there today. But I just want to congratulate them on their beautiful facility. It is amazing, and it really is in a beautiful setting. It really is beautiful. It's kind of far out there, and not really easy to see, but once you get there and then turn to the east, it's just beautiful. So I'm glad to have them. Also, just a question. So with the purchase of the Orville ball field, I know we haven't, it's not final yet. Do you know what will happen with the chairs? Like the folding chairs?
No, we'll probably have to negotiate with the North Stake, to determine if they can still keep them there. That'll be entirely up to you because you will now be the new owner of that area. So,
Okay.
but it is not finalized yet.
Well, so before this meeting, we had a concert meeting for the fair, and we always use those. We always borrow those for the concert, and so we're kind of in limbo as to who we're supposed to ask.
I had
To
that
borrow
same.
It's still the church. It's still the church's, still the church's property.
Okay.
We're in a due diligence phase after they have signed the contract. But as we well know, when dealing with the church, their idea of quickly getting back with us could be 4 or 5 months. I have no idea. Just everything moves at a eternal pace when you're talking with the
I see
church.
what you did there. Okay, sorry, just a few more. So, just a reminder, Miss Nephi is this Saturday at 6:00.
I'll be there.
You'll be there.
Yeah.
Are
You're
you
gonna do
going-
the-
I will not be able to this year.
We need some help with the cash
We need
box
some
then.
help, yep.
But with that being said, I would always get that cash box from Lisa on that Friday. So we'll just have to make sure that cash box gets put together and somebody picks it up. Cause I would
Extra
go and
fives.
get that from her.
Who's,
So
do I need to do that? Who needs to do
I'll
that?
do it.
You'll do it? Will
Sure.
you be there that night to help
Yes, I will.
with the door?
So I need to come by Friday then and pick up the cash box.
I found it interesting when we was out there that they had mentioned that the facility was available for events and things to be held out there.
Now you're still in my thunder.
Okay, so you've got that, JD. Thank you.
Glad to.
And you'll be there that night as well?
Yes,
What time
ma'am.
should we, 5:30,
JD,
5:45?
are you gonna come before?
5:30
noon?
should
Just
be
lock the vault.
No,
Is that
I
about
want
when
you
would
to
get there?
wait
Is it
for
half
me.
hour early? Okay, perfect, thank you. And then my last thing is, Troy, Representative Shelley reached out to me the other day, and he really is, wanting to put together a group of people to let them know how they can be involved in, now the word, I lost the word.
Committees.
Committees.
Yeah.
And committees up at the Capitol, just when different things are being proposed, there's committees that you can be a part of and be a part of the process. And so he wants to get a group of people together to kind of tell them how to be involved. He just asked for our help in, I guess, gathering people. I don't know of I'm sure we could use this room, but I don't know if he wants us to come up with a day and a time but open to suggestions of who you would
I just think that,
invite for that or who we
Yeah.
should.
I think it's a good thing for as many citizens that want to be involved in that, because it's really, it's your opportunity to kind of talk to the legislators and tell those committees before the decision even makes it out of that thing. So if you're passionate about a particular topic, or maybe it's something that we're covering in city council when we talk about legislative updates or something that might be of a passion to you, getting to that committee first really helps out in just that presentation. I think Troy this is the first representative who's proposed this kind of thing, but as I've been more involved, I think it's a great way to kind of help maybe put stops to things or advance things that you're in favor for, if you're able to share those thoughts with the committee members. So I think it would be benefit if you're passionate about certain laws and rules that are going on in our communities, or even at the state in general. That would be a good place to be able to do that.
Yeah,
So
well, because a lot of times people on the Hill don't know, what goes on in our rural communities. And so if there is something that you can see, hey, there's going to be a problem, maybe it's something they haven't thought about. That's a
Yeah.
good place to interact and bring up those concerns. So with that, I think I'm finally done.
hey,
I had a couple of things. One was actually for Niall, with the baseball committee. Maybe it would be a cool thing to see if we could reach out to teamhive.live to record it, or,
That's arranged.
Okay.
It's gonna be streamlined.
okay,
It's gonna
awesome.
be streamed.
Of course, I hope the community comes out to actually
That's what we're
participate,
hoping for, but
it'd be cool to
it
have
is
it
gonna be
recorded
streamed, so.
and streamed, so.
And we'll have information on that as soon as we get that, how to get to that. And get to that tap,
Right.
we'll let everybody know.
Great. Yeah, it's usually pretty simple to work around. I wanted to follow up on something we talked about a while back, was the pickleball sort of situation. Has that had any traction, or you said they'd looked into it and found some stuff and we had funding for it? I was curious if we have a thought or a timeline.
I think there was some grant funding that we're gonna try and go for, but I'll ask Ron and Craig, because it seems like they were gonna try and secure some grant funding for that.
Okay.
We already kind of have a preliminary or concept design of it. We think we can fit, 3 courts in there.
Okay.
I have some things that I want to talk over with the council tonight that might help that in our closed session.
Okay.
So,
Sounds great. Another thing, this is just for the community. I'm looking for volunteers that are wanting to help at the Mammoth Parade. So we're needing several different types of volunteers, whether that's someone that's wanting to announce, and I have people that I'll reach out to as far as announcing goes. But if there's people in the community that want to be involved, I'm your contact for the Mammoth Parade this year. So if you're interested in announcing, that would be one thing. Another thing is we're needing to have people, and I'm not sure if there's a specific can or can't have, but we're needing to have people at the stops at the intersections this year, just blocking the traffic so the parade can go along its route. And so I'm just calling out for volunteers. If anyone has any desire to help, that would be very great to have your help. So you can reach out to me.
Hey, Councilor Douglas, I would also recommend, if you've got some materials that you want to put out on our social media, you can send them to Allie directly, Allie Painter, or you can send them to me and I'll give them to her.
Okay.
She's our social media coordinator.
And I'll give those to you
hopefully
this
with our meetings being streamed, it actually is being shared a little bit more, that we need help with that badly.
We do need help. We don't have the normal help that we have on each of the stops. So if we could have people even parking their cars and just helping with traffic, that'd be awesome. So again, you can reach out to me through my phone number, 435-610-6225, or you can send me an email. So as well, if you're a local business or not local, and you would like to participate in the parade, having a float, same thing, reach out to me and I can help you get signed up for that. So it's very simple process to sign up and to be involved. And lastly, if you have any desire to be a sponsor or a donor for the Mammoth Parade, to help us with that, as far as that goes, reach out to me. And my last sort of thought was, and again, we can talk more about this. I just wanted to reiterate what Shari was saying about changing the wording for that, as far as the tax goes, to making sure our priority is the officer first, coming first, and then the police station. And my personal desire is the same with the chiefs. If we could get to, would be, I don't know. I don't know exactly how, like we've discussed in the past, funding is going to go as far as the bids for the station, but I truly think we should work backwards and say 2 police officers first and then the station. But that's just kind of my thoughts as we've had this meeting today, but that's all I have.
Okay. A few different things that, like Niall was talking about, the pleasant surprise today at the Armory meeting, is my fond memories of when I was growing up was participating in wrestling matches and basketball games over in the old Armory and those different things. And so when they made mention today that them coming into the community is not only, their for them to have their base and readiness center here, but it's also to be involved and be a part of the community. And I was quickly measuring to see how many wrestling mats we could throw down on their gym floor in there. But it's a really nice facility, and they really want to be involved in the community and be a part of our community. And it's great to have, a return after 30 years, and because there's a lot of great memories that occurred across the street. Might be a little bit further to pedal on your bike, but it is. Well, Don can answer that question for us because he did that today to be there at the opening. So that was really nice and to see and what they have going on that way. Ruth wanted me to, and it was in the weekend update for those who received it. The summer reading kickoff program. There were 628 people that attended that year. Volunteer support came from City Council, Shari Cowan, 9 Sterling Scholars and Friends, 10 Library Youth Council members, and 9 Friends of the Library. And then they had 28 vendors that participated in that. In addition to that, I think yet it's another example of why to shop locally. Many of the prizes and the things that are going to be given out for those who accomplish their reading levels came from donors and people within our community, local businesses. And so giving back to our community once again. I talk about that quite a bit. We also had on Monday, we had our community family night out event. We had 625 members of our community attend. And between the swimming pool and then we did provide meals after they did kind of events with the local stuff within our community. We served like 375 meals around in that area. And so that was pretty neat. And it's all the services that you can find within the community, from mental health, law enforcement, to 4-H and different things. So yeah,
The teen center.
yeah, the teen center was there also. One Kind Act. I've had an opportunity to participate in One Kind Act through my job. They also basically go into community and just really promote that topic, One Kind Act, doing kind acts to others within your communities and making lives better for those around you. In my work, what was interesting is we had them come into our facilities, and these are secure facilities, basically. So you're familiar with the same language, basically juvenile prison is what it is. And they'd come in, they have a month-long program they do a mural at the end of it within our facilities. And by the time that it's all over and things, the amount of physical interventions that we have to deal with in our facilities drop anywhere from 50 to 72%. And it continues for a long period of time. They've started to work with cities. They've worked with one of our sister cities, Salem, in the past, where they came in and done some stuff with Salem cities and some of the schools. And they want to be involved in Nephi. It's at no cost to the city. Everything that they do, they provide the flyers or the yard signs, campaign signs, basically, and the different things that they do and promote. So they asked me from a different perspective if Nephi City would be interested to participate. So there's that.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes.
What kind of space do they need?
It depends on each one of the different places they're at. Like, I mean, some of it, putting out the yard signs and that, and then they interact with the schools. And so there's more to come. It was just like, hey, Justin, are you interested in having them come to our community? And they kind of tailor it to our needs that way. Last thing I want to touch on, and just with all the different events, is really, we talk about volunteerism, and I know we struggle in some areas, but I think overall that's one thing it's always interesting to see when events come to our community, that a lot of people show up and they stay to the end, right? Family Night Out was a great thing. There was a lot of people that weren't even vendors or participating in it, but I seen individuals picking up trash in our park before they left, right? And just making sure that place looked nice and clean. And I think that's a really good thing that I love about our community. And hopefully we can continue to find ways to serve each other and just be involved in the different aspects of our community. So want to reach out and say that. I'll turn it over to you, Jeremy.
Okay, before Jeremy begins, since you mentioned taking my tricycle out to Calvary, I might also mention that my tricycle has a top speed of 15 miles an hour. Most kids on bicycles will leave me in the dust. So I am not the standard by which to gauge how fast it takes.
I'm glad you didn't get pulled over.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Donald.
Can I say one thing real quick? It just came to my mind. Just for the community, especially with my connection with the schools, if you have kids, they have summer school lunch starting. So I just want to make sure there's not any kids that are at home going hungry. So it started up just this week. So it's over at Nebo View Elementary, just right down the road here from us. I think they offer breakfast. I'm probably completely butchering the times, but I want to say it's 7:30 to 8 or 8 to 8:30 for breakfast.
8 to 8.
8 to 8:30 for breakfast. And it's as simple as grab and go. And then lunch, Nisha, is it 11 to 11:30? Okay.
I think so.
Or maybe 11:30 to 12.
I think it's 11:30 to 12.
Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry on the time, but 11:30 to 12. So yeah, your kids can ride their bikes over, whatever, but there's free school lunch for kids. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. And I know the lunch lady is working super hard on that. So thanks for talking about school to remind me of that. Sorry, Jeremy.
No, that's good. And really all I wanted to say is I just wanted to echo what Tate had mentioned about the property tax increase for a police station. I too want to kind of throw my vote in, so to speak, that, that main priority is that officer, but I really do think we do everything we can to get that second one as well. And so however that looks, when we're going through that bid process and different things. So value engineering, different things that way. So, and that's all I've got tonight.
The only thing I'd remind the public about is that we have a celebrity speaker on Thursday at Chamber of Commerce with Seth doing a state of the city for their lunch and learn.
Oh, man, I gotta get my presentation ready.
Is that at noon?
Yeah, that's at noon at the Holiday Inn Express.
Maybe signing autographs.
And we'll make sure we have
Dodging
half
tomatoes,
room
probably.
sitting and half room standing.
Just leave the soft puppets home.
Any of the closed meeting items, do they affect any of the work session items?
No.
Okay, so what we'll do is I'll push that one to the bottom and we'll move into the work session items because I know we have individuals that are here for that.
If you want to keep broadcasting, if we're going to move into the work session.
Maybe.
If-
Just maybe
Yeah.
mention that there won't be any action taken on any of those items.
So any of the topics that are discussed in work session are ideas. There's no final format on it. We're just listening to thoughts and maybe ideas that we can go with the city. It's important to know no actions taking on it, no planned intervention. Just because it's said at this portion of the meeting, it's not reality. It's just listening. Just here to listen to ideas of what people want to talk about.
Brainstorming.
So we'll see if it fails or if it succeeds. So, okay. With that, we'll move into our work session items. We'll move into the density discussion. And now am I turning time over to Shauna? Or are you still?
Probably both of us, yeah.
Okay.
I'll start out though, and Shauna can fill in where I miss. So we had talked about this with the council at a work session, I think last time. For several years now, what we had kind of consistently heard from both the planning commission members and the city council was that we did not want to increase our density in the different zones that we have, that we were comfortable, and we actually reduced density in a few of our zones like the CU1 several years ago. So we have always told developers this for many, many years. And we've just said there's really no appetite on either the planning commission or the council to change those density figures. But in recent meetings with both boards, we have heard comments from planning commission members and city council members about potentially increasing or allowing higher density in some locations. And so we just wanted to have a discussion with the council and find out kind of what they're thinking. We do have some proposals in the works right now that we're going to move forward with the planning commission. If you looked at our concept zoning, when we adopted that sort of concept zoning map for areas outside the city limits, we accounted for a non-existing zone called R4, which was a higher density zone kind of put around our transportation corridors or around our freeway exits. That's how it's showing in the concept zoning right now. It's a zone that doesn't exist. The densities were nebulous. We just assumed a kind of higher density than what we have in our R3, which is 8 units per acre. And that is our highest density residential zone. Now, in our other zones, especially our combined use zones where you can have commercial and residential, there's some things that you could do, just like we talked about a few weeks ago when the council adopted the vertical discount. When you build up instead of sideways, you're taking up less of a footprint, and there's no need for additional land space when you're just building straight up. And so you're given essentially what's called a vertical discount, meaning you can have fewer land requirements for the additional units that you want to put in the CU1 and the CU2 zones, which are mostly along our Main Street corridor here. So we're just, I think, looking for feedback from the city council to give to the planning commission and to staff, so that when we propose something, it kind of aligns with the thoughts that you're having about higher densities. We did have a request for some higher density in the CU1 a while back, or at our last meeting, by a local developer. So I think we just want to get from the council, hopefully you've had some time to kind of think this through since we presented this last, about which zones you think might be best to adjust, or if you're interested in looking at a new zone that you want to put in a specific place. That one of the things that we are looking at is kind of this R4 zone, although we're actually engineering something called the CU3, which would allow for higher density residential, but also allow for a commercial on the bottom option for these. And then you would be able to strategically place this zone around, we would recommend around our highway commercial or the freeway exits, where it's a little bit closer to major transportation corridors. These are typically people that have to work out of town, they'll need to commute, but they can't afford a home yet. And it provides some housing options for people that are looking to eventually settle into a single family residential, but just are in that transition area in their lives right now. So just kind of wanted to open up to the council. We do have links to our residential zones and commercial zones where there is residential allowed. So you can kind of see the densities that are there now, and just need feedback from the council and what your thoughts are about where, or if you'd like to allow additional density.
So I think as far as looking at some different options, truly, if we're looking at more of a high density kind of situation, we've tried a few things in the past as far as zero lot lines and some things, and truly that was to create more of a affordable housing situation for individuals as they want to return home and come home, right? And if the density can decrease the cost of a home, ironically this week my youngest son is looking at some housing options, and right around $400,000, right? And he has a good job, and he came to the reality, kind of like reality town. How many years later, whenever they do that, and he's like, yeah, he started putting numbers together, and he's like, I couldn't afford that house right now if I wanted that house right now, right? And I got this, I've got the house payment, then my car payments, and he had it all figured out. And so really, it's those first families starting out, or the first teachers coming back to the community, creating opportunity for them to be able to have housing. But as we look at that, I think it has to be a formula that meets that need, as far as saying, okay, here's enough housing that is going to reduce the cost for someone to get into some truly affordable housing. That's how I look at it. So there's one. The second thing is I know there's certain spots within our community where I think it makes sense where there might be existing fourplexes or different, and that there's a piece of land that can remain vacant forever, or there's housing that we could put in place in those areas that kind of goes along with what the atmosphere of those. And I think we need to be aware of where those lands exist and find ways to have them. I mean, it would meet what's currently in that situation and that way. So, I mean, we do have those land masses that are available in the middle of the community that are still there. Like, what are some ways that we can fill in some of those areas, and what would that look like? So I think that's also zoning that needs to be looked at. Like, how can we be creative to address those zones to help fill in some of those zones? Anyways,
I think that's, from what we discussed last time, another big point was just like the thing that would put me off is you put a house on there that's more affordable, and then some rich dude moves in and then they just rent it out. And so I don't know what there is as far as what we can even do as far as saying, like, yeah, you may have a smaller lot size that we could allow for a smaller lot size that would allow you to put a house on. But that house would need to be purchased by an owner that is going to be living in that house.
There are some avenues to do that.
Okay, and so that's like, I would be a lot more on board with it if we can ensure that it needs to be owner occupied. That would allow young people that want to live in Nephi or stay in Nephi to be able to do that, or older people or whoever, but at a more affordable price, as long as it's owner occupied, rather than we just keep playing the game that we're playing right now already, which is the rent game, which is already also kind of impossible. So.
To your point, Councilor Douglas, too, one of the problems that has been statewide is that, and it's one of the things that the governor actually pointed out. He asked how many of us grew up in a 1,800 square foot home with a carport, and most of us, that were in my generation raised their hands, and that was the case. And he says, and nothing's wrong with that, but what's happening a lot of times is that you'll reduce the lot size, but developers will still come in and put a 3,200, 3,300 square foot home, a 3-car garage, and it just means you have less yard.
Yeah.
And you have to barely meet the setbacks, and so you just don't have any yard available when you do that, and the price of the home is still exorbitant. And so, part of this is kind of on the developer side, that if we're gonna build truly affordable homes, they can't be what I think we all want someday, but that may not be what you get initially. If you want a home to start with, that's why they call them starter homes. You would anticipate that there would be, they'd build in the garage later, they would add on to it, they would do something in the future, or they'd sell it and move into a larger home. So anyway, I think there's problems that need to be solved on kind of both the public and the private sector.
Yeah, it does look like there are a couple of homes that fit more in that description over on the south end of town that's going up right now. So, which is good. I don't know what the plan is for them, but whether it's an owner occupied or they're going to sell them or whatever. But it is good to see that is happening in the community.
We've actually seen several lately that have really met that criteria. Some of them are not doing garages.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are doing smaller homes. Some of them, we have a couple of duplexes or twin homes that have gone in. So as of this last fiscal year probably, we have started to see a shift towards that because interest rates aren't going down and people are having needs and they need homes. And so.
Yeah, and I just had a thought too about on the especially the CU1 zone. I really, because of where those zones are located, I don't want to see an increase in density in the CU1. And the main reason for me is we still have a couple of pretty good sized tracts of land on Main Street. And while I'm not opposed to multi-unit or multi-family developments at all, I kind of am opposed to them right on Main Street. I think, I think with what we're trying to do with with the C1 and C2 zones and spacing out the traffic and our commercial pods. And I think that would create some issues in doing that.
I have a question. So CU1, where we want to primarily kind of incentivize the commercial, how do you feel about where we have it in the CU2? Which would be its twin sister that incentivizes residential.
And I would be okay with that. And even like we were talking about the case that we've been talking about, I would be more inclined to do something like that as long as still it's going from 8 to 10 units or something like that, where it's not a huge jump,
It's 6 currently.
Okay. Well,
and so how do you feel like going from 6 to 8? So it's about 7260 to 5440.
In that situation, I would be okay with it just for that reason. I mean, it's basically a difference from a duplex to a triplex in a lot of ways,
Yes.
and I'm okay with that with the vertical. But again, it just would concern me though to see large, high density on Main Street. Right? I'm okay. I think the R4 zone or something like that makes a lot of sense. But again, I think we want to place that away from
I
Main
agree
Street.
with you on the C1 definitely. I don't want to incentivize really residential at all in C1. And another reason is because almost our entire Main Street from a certain north to a certain south is that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's opening up the entire zone up. What I do like or in favor of is the CU2 because right now it only exists where we have chosen to place it. And so if a free zone comes in, we are looking at that on a not an administrative basis, but on a legislative basis.
Mhm.
So I like where you're going with that. That's how I personally feel as well, is if we're going to do the high density, let's look at it in the CU2, and then it only happens because we chose to rezone it there.
Right. And there's places and, there's some places where it does make sense. I think there's some places here on First North that make sense,
Mhm.
possibly, potentially. But I do think that, but again, yeah, so I agree. I don't want to incentivize the residential in the C1 zone.
Okay.
So question, so if we don't increase density in CU1, does that mean in those areas you can't have where the business is on the bottom, housing's on the top?
You can, and also it help, like Seth said, with our vertical discount. That's gonna help immediately if you build vertical, which would include one of the dwelling uses allowed in the CU1 is business below and apartments above.
Okay.
So in the CU1, we do not allow horizontal building. So that would be like townhomes,
Mhm.
boom, 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 boom with your units. That's not an allowed use. Going unit on unit on unit is allowed in the CU1.
Because I like that idea by the exits, just for the reasons that we've already discussed, but I think that there's a few spots along Main Street that a building like that would make sense, as long as it's not too high. I don't want a skyscraper down on Main Street, but
Max 35 feet.
yes,
Well, and that might be something that you have to look at too, is changing the height restriction if you're gonna go up.
So we have been, is it okay if I talk about the one we're kind of talking about, Seth? Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay, so he had mentioned that we are looking at a potential one called CU3, which is an amalgamation of CU1 and CU2. It will focus more, and like he said, right around our commercial pods. It will be located directly close to services, such as you would see down here on our self interchange that has started to develop. This CU1 or CU3 zone that we're developing to see as a possibility, it would also have a vertical discount, just like CU1 and CU2. We are considering it to be more in the realm of approximately, if you're building vertically, probably 12 units per acre. And with a vertical discount, that will end up getting you approximately just under 20 units per acre, depending on how much you do. And we've talked about to incentivize the commercial. If they put a commercial business on the bottom, they can have 4 stories and 45 feet. But if it's strictly residential, we keep the density a little bit lower. It's at 8 units per acre, just like our R38, our largest density zone to date. And so it incentivizes you to have some commercial in your development as well. The beauty of that too is you get these neighborhood commercial businesses that are being utilized. So the rooftops, the people, the units help the businesses grow. The businesses help sustain the residents. So it's a symbiotic relationship. So we're already, Mike and I are kind of working on that right now as a possibility right there in our commercial corridors.
What's the current zoning down there?
Just highway commercial.
Okay.
Crimson Flats,
Crimson Flats,
entirely
yeah.
highway.
There's no
commercial.
residential allowed right now at all.
Okay.
So we're potentially exploring something that's on our concept zoning map, but is not in reality an actual zone yet.
So I looked at way too many properties last week when I was traveling. And
Your vacations will never be the same now.
no, they will not. So let me start first by reiterating what I mentioned a couple weeks ago, and that is I still think we need to look at our ADU options and expand that out to not just internal, but detached ADUs on larger lots as an option for within city boundaries, so that we can utilize some of these properties that are large but underutilized. The other piece is I like the consideration of an R4 if we can come up with a way to incent owner occupancy. As I was out traveling around and doing my own research on certain communities, I realized really quickly that one of the reasons why we want owner occupancy is to keep it from turning into an investment slum. If we can keep it and motivate it to stay owner occupied through whether it's incentives or HOAs or covenants within the developments, it kept those neighborhoods from becoming run down. Even though the communities were 20, 30 years old, they were still well maintained. There was some pride in those communities. So if we're going to increase density, shrink lot size, create starter homes, I still would like to figure out a way to keep them from becoming an eyesore and a law enforcement issue in the community. The last thing is I like the idea of the CU2 density increase. I'm with the rest of the council that going from 6 to 8 doesn't bother me at all. Honestly, as long as we got the parking that we've designated within there, that sounds fine to me. I think particularly for CU2, if we can create some more opportunities there, I think that's a great idea. So those are my thoughts after, because I really was concerned about the same things that council was about. We create these smaller homes and in 10 years are going to become a
I want
dump.
to follow up with an additional question for you.
Okay.
Because one of the things you're saying is owner occupied, and we have always felt that way
Yeah.
as well. So in thinking of these that might be down by these highway interchanges,
Mhm.
developers tend to have a wheelhouse, right? They're either commercial or they're residential. And sometimes in order for them to think about investing, they want to have it to lease out. And so number one, that might limit you a little bit if you
Yeah.
don't allow the apartments. Second of all, condominiumizing is going to reduce the incentive to have commercial, because that will definitely not be the wheelhouse of someone that's just there to buy a condo.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
I don't,
Do you have a comment
I
on
think
that?
in highway commercial or in CU1 and CU2, I don't think we limit it to owner occupancy.
Okay,
That to me doesn't make any sense. To your point, they're symbiotic. They're going to support one another. I think the developers need that flexibility in those zones. But when we're talking about an R4
okay,
idea,
okay.
that probably needs to be more owner occupied.
That was very helpful. Okay.
Now, I would point out, since you're talking about the potential of creating an R4 zone for starter homes, smaller residences, cheaper residences, not only would these be necessarily starter homes for people who are just starting their lives, they're looking for a first place to live, but also people who are on the bottom end of the economic spectrum, people who may be elderly, people who may be handicapped, people who may not be physically able to maintain a residence. And, usually if you're gonna have slumification, part of that is because residents simply don't have the means of maintaining a residence. So it is possible that if we could work with local law enforcement, work with local courts, the circuit courts, if we could have these lots designated as places where people who need to do community service, they could potentially come in and clean these places up, help maintain these places for people who are not able to do it for themselves. That would also give these people who are sort of straddling that fence between legal and illegal, a way to put some sweat equity into the community. Make them more community minded than they might have been otherwise.
Yeah, I think so. Everybody generally just comes to city council meetings. In work sessions, it's really an opportunity to kind of hear from the audience. Donald did that. I think we have 2 realtors, and then Kelly, I know you're known for high-end housing, but and you do a damn good job. Darn good job. Sorry, I'm going to get FFC on myself, but I am interested in your input. Right? I mean, you build those higher-end homes. What do you think? What are some, in the building industry, what are some things that you think we could do to help meet that affordable housing thing, but yet still have a product that's really good to offer?
I just think that the days of the 3rd acre lots are over. I think we got to go to smaller than 8,000 square feet on the lots, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, I guess I feel like we can still build nice little homes on them, and we can beautify the city as we're doing it, I guess is what I'm saying. And I think that the kids will buy them $450,000 houses and stuff like that. They'll take care of them. And when they grow out of them, they'll sell them. They'll still be getting used the same way too. So that's kind of my thought.
Can I say?
Yeah, of course.
So
absolutely anybody could talk in
the thing is in a residential zone, I'm not meaning subdivisions, but on the properties that people already own, the building permits are getting so high that it isn't feasible for someone to build a house on those and try to sell it for $450,000. It's not feasible for somebody to do. You can't sell a house for $450,000 when your building permit is $30,000 on a 3rd acre.
Yeah,
there's no way.
Curb and gutter sidewalk and all that too. It's just
there's no way. Like speaking from the building part of it, there's no way you can do that.
So that's something we ought to talk about, because if we're going to offer a product, or we want to incent a product that is affordable, we may need to look at what we can do as a city to provide some incentive to do that. And that comes down to building, it comes down to impact fees. It comes down to requirements because I see where she's coming from on that.
There's no way. Like by the time
we're tacking on 30 grand right up front just to get started.
Well, one thing to keep in mind is a major component of that is land value, which has nothing to do with the city. And I happened to call on some pricing on some vacant lots in town.
I know.
And what they were charging for a lot that had no sidewalk, no curb and gutter, no utility extensions, no asphalt on the street next to it, was outrageous. And it had nothing to do with, and it was just slightly under finished lots in a subdivision that we have going on. And I just thought, that's insane. And so, that has nothing to do with the city. That's just people selling land for an exorbitant amount of money. One of the things you'll have to keep in mind, because you're right, there are some things that
we can control. Yes,
that you can control. Impact fees is one of those, but there's only 2 people paying for new development when you don't charge a full impact fee. It's either the new people coming in or it's existing residents. There's no other people paying for those things. So when you reduce an impact fee for a new resident, that means that's falling on the backs of existing residents. So just keep that in mind.
we can do that. The state legislature allows that. And if you want to incentivize development, plenty of cities have used that. But you just have to keep in mind, somebody pays the piper.
But it's.
We're just kind of hoping that maybe we can get the lot sizes a little smaller, 8,000. It might make it a little easier for people. I mean, you also got to think about most of these lots get over X now too. So you're talking another $15,000 inside that too. It's just the soil of Nephi.
Yeah.
We just dug one over by Gary Jones's and that thing's collapsible. We have to do 2 feet over X on that right there. So it's all over town. It's not just in subdivisions.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking it'd be just a little smaller, it's not that big of a deal.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any thoughts? Dean? Do you have any thoughts or nothing? Where you sell houses for a living? You just, Mike?
I like the idea. I like, this is a great discussion. I think what Shauna and everyone's coming up with, I think it'd be good to have, commercial, then, on top you have these, kind of apartment things for, starter homes, people that are, college students or, young people, married couples. I think what we're doing right now, we're talking, I think this is great. I think it's a great idea.
So, what were you saying? Kind of ballpark for if you were to build on a smaller lot, would be like right around 450.
I think you could, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to build
like they were
houses
saying,
on 7,500
those little
square foot
houses,
lots,
right?
I mean, you could go down to where it's just under a quarter, basically. I guess it'd be under 0.17 or whatever it would be. But you could still build a nice little home on those lots.
Yeah.
Like you said, somebody said something about building a carport.
Yeah.
Seth, and you can close it in one of these days when you afford it and have a garage or something like that.
Yeah. I guess
I just
my
think
only
people
thought
want to
is,
have something that they can improve and that they can have too,
Yeah.
Not just a townhome, because most of those townhomes down there, they're all owned by other people there too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they're being rented out.
right, which we don't want. We're trying
Exactly.
to avoid.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the things I think would help Kelly, and he has taken advantage of, is we do have our R2A zone, which does allow for twin homes. And that does reduce at least one side of your setbacks.
Mhm.
And that does reduce just the setbacks overall. It reduces the lot size overall. So one thought would be, is to put within town where we find it appropriate, either some more R2A zoning, which is single family housing, but also can do twin homes or duplexes. And you could look at maybe some other spots you may feel like R3A could go, because that can also do 4 plexes up to 12 plexes. And so, you may look, okay, do we have some areas we feel like this could be appropriate? As you look at back in the day, I've been doing some research in the history of Nephi of how multifamily housing has been kind of approved over the years. And it used to have to come, first of all, the zoning has changed vastly. It's kind of like haircuts. You can look at haircuts back in the 80s. There's very different to what they are today. And the zones that they used to have was very different. But they kind of had it peppered through the community at the time, where it was just kind of random, here, there, and everywhere. So that is a possibility. We typically call that spot zoning. But if we looked at some areas we could do a full zoning, like you see that random kind of zoning down in R28, if you look back at, I'll have to send you guys each an email of what R28 used to look like, where it used to exist, the very limited scope it was, and then it expanded down there on the south end of town. And then they added one up on the north end of town. So that is one thought too, just in the historic areas. Let's look if we could expand some areas that you might be willing to look at twin homes and duplexes, which does help with the cost, both if you owned it, if you were an owner and you can rent the other units, very similar to what JD was saying of the IADUs. It can be owner occupied. Now, of course, those can always be owned by a conglomerate too and be rented. But we could look into what kind of deed restrictions we'd have, at least on the initial homeowner, if we can expect it to be owner occupied for a certain amount of time. We could look into what's available out there legally to do.
Okay. Let me ask, I'm going to come at it a little bit from the demand side for just a minute. How much, I guess my concern is there a market for a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, or a a smaller starter home. Because right now, I feel like the only thing on the market that's coming available, or a 2-1 even, with an ability to expand. The only thing I see being started right now is a 3-2 as your base.
There is definitely a market right now.
For the smaller?
Homes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I just had another contractor approach me because he's had a few friends that are wanting homes that are 2 and 3 bedroom homes and affordable. Did a blog not too long ago on what you can get for $400,000 in Nephi. And it's typically between a 1 and 3 bedroom home, and those are going to be 20 to 40-year-old homes. So it is there.
Yeah.
I personally would like to see that. I've had a family of 4 kids, me and my wife, and we're renting right now because we can't afford it yet.
Right.
And those bigger homes are just they're too expensive.
Mhm.
So, yeah, there's definitely a big market for that.
Do you know what the current, what's like a townhome purchase going for in Nephi?
In Nephi,
420.
it's going to about 420.
420. So for 30,000 more ish, you can get a small home with the yard
property.
and
And that's a big difference between townhome and a property is, I don't want my kids to play in a 2-foot square backyard.
Right.
You know, I've got 4 kids. I want to be able to say, hey, go outside, get out of the house, get some fresh air, and not have them running around in the street. You know?
I think if you took them down to 7,500, you could still meet setbacks even.
Those prices to me just still they're not affordable.
they're still not affordable.
They're not.
400,000, 450.
I mean, that's the realistic of it, right?
Yeah.
I
that is
know.
what it
It's
is.
just
Our son
freaking-
But
is
it's
in the
not.
same boat. Someone just said,
So,
yeah.
your son.
You're looking
Our
at
son is in the
3,000
same boat. He
bucks.
just got married a year
3,500
ago.
bucks.
They have a baby. They're renting right now. They're paying $2,200 a month to rent.
Yeah.
And they don't qualify for the 400 and they both have jobs. They don't qualify for the 450 that even some of the townhomes are getting up to. Or it's a house that was built 50 years ago.
Mhm.
That
Your
they've
monthly
got to put
payment's
so
like
much money into
3,500
it
bucks.
And
anyway,
then, then you gotta put another 100,000 in it to make it livable.
Right.
in some of them.
Yeah.
And so,
It's crazy.
yeah.
But I think it's a start, and I think as well, the vertical discount is another start to lowering prices at least around town.
And we have thought about exploring the external ADUs. We're not required by the state law to do that, but it is something that we could look at doing.
I think we should.
And I think you could put a little bit more boundaries on it because we're not required to do it. We could maybe do some more boundaries. We'll have to check in the state law and see what that does and doesn't allow. But
Yeah, I think if we approach what we've already talked about in the CU2 zones, maybe continue your development of your CU3 and the R4 zones. If we need to look at, shrinking the lot size a little bit in that R4 zone, I think anything we can do to increase supply a little bit in that zone would be great.
Do you have any appetite to reducing, say, the front yard setback or rear yard at all?
Because right now we're what, 30?
Or 30 and 30 front and rear?
I think
we had
I think maybe the rear, but not
uh,
the front.
Yeah, I would say the rear would make more sense.
To reduce it or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to keep everything more uniform in the
Okay.
front at least, but the rear I think would make more sense.
Remember when I was suggesting for my starter home a concept that the lot size might only be 1/10 of an acre in size? Smaller lots, less expense, less home that you can build them and thing. So that way, less maintenance, less.
At that point, you can like zero scape it, You don't have much and it's you're not using water, you're not, like you're saying, if it's an elderly person, they're not having to mow lawns and it's just very, very simple.
1/10 of an acre.
Have we given you some direction and idea?
This has been very
Okay.
helpful.
So with that said, for those participating from home, it's a great opportunity. If you have thoughts related to this subject, you can just reach out to the city council members. You know how to find us online, or our telephone numbers, but just reach out and give your thoughts as we look at this. Once again, this was just a general discussion about density. levels. And so there's a lot to come between now and then with planning and zoning and more discussions like this to kind of fine tune as we go. With that said, we'll move on to franchise fees.
Just a general discussion here.
Thank you.
As many of you know, there is a private company that's looking to come into Nephi City and install some new fiber optics for services to residents. That entity wants to come in under a cable franchise agreement. And so they'd like to come talk with you next week at a work session. And so I just wanted to make sure you understood the city staff recommendation and why we're recommending that. Just as we had a discussion under the budget items, where even our own utilities pay for the use of the right-of-way. That is valuable space on all of our city streets that is then taken up when some utility goes in there. And so even though the city owns their own utility, they still require that because that is the use of that space. Under the Cable Act, the Federal Cable Act, if a utility wants to come in under just that, their position, not ours, but their position is that they can come in under that act and only pay franchise fees on a services for cable TV. Well, I think we're all aware of how outdated and how obsolete that technology is. We know that there are other services that are offered under those same infrastructure, the same infrastructure that's put in. And so we have, the staff's position is that this utility can come in under a cable franchise as long as they also sign a telecommunications franchise, which means that if you're offering other services in the same right-of-way, using the same infrastructure, you pay a franchise fee for the use of that right-of-way. It's a fairly simple proposition. We feel like the current provider does that. Both providers do that. One is much more active than the other. And this other provider, we feel like should come under those same provisions. So that's the position of the city staff and the recommendations that we would make.
Just out of curiosity, does anybody have cable TV within their home in the audience? One. Okay. Probably that's okay. One out of everybody. Okay. Any questions about that?
I'm always willing to listen. I mean, that's fine.
I just want to make sure the council is very clear on why we're recommending what we're recommending.
Totally understand, but if they want to come in and speak, I'm willing to listen. Yeah.
Okay. All right. To be continued next week then. All right. Building lighting options.
So Garrett, our city arborist, had come in a few weeks ago and proposed some lights around to permanent lighting around the city hall and the Boweries and the park. This would actually save a lot of staff time because they put those lights up and down every year, and we're a very festive city. We like to do lights every Christmas, and so they like to do that. They thought this would be a better solution for the long term and would allow us to be a little more festive on other holidays of the year. So he did get some bids on things. We had some other additional companies that wanted to come in and offer to give us a bid. And so we did get a couple other offers. Most of the installation costs were very, very similar, but we felt that Versa Lights offered the best warranty. And so Garrett is recommending the Versa Lights option at this $20,954. They had the lifetime warranty on their parts, and so we felt like that was the best solution.
Seems like the better lights too.
Brighter for sure.
Brighter at least.
Okay.
You good with that?
Yeah.
Everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have Garrett contact the company and get that scheduled. We hope and think we might be able to get it put in at least around City Hall before the 4th of July, and maybe we can go red, white, and blue for the 4th.
Speaking of lighting, at the city park,
I was gonna bring this up.
okay. Beat you to it.
Now you're just taking my thunder.
Is there, we talked about having that flagpole or having lighting option available so we could fly the flag at night. Is it built into the light pole or is
I still need to check on that, Mayor.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That's on my to-do list.
Okay.
Did we ever decide how tall that flagpole is?
Yeah.
50 feet.
50 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's bigger than the last.
It's beautiful. I love it.
It's really nice.
And we have both the American flag and we have a America 250 flag that we would like to fly underneath it too.
Awesome.
With the Nephi City America 250 logo.
Perfect. Okay. Any miscellaneous?
I'm all done.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I forgot to mention during my presentation that we have had a big 5-foot baseball.
Yeah.
Danny Sperry built, and him and Alan painted it. We're gonna have it up there at the entranceway for the baseball game on the 20th. But our ultimate goal is to put it out there at Pioneer Park next to that sign that designates where the first game was.
Yep.
And what it'll require is a pad to be poured that we can set it in and hopefully anchor it down. So, I mean, it's pretty heavy, but I wouldn't put it past somebody to try and hook onto it and haul it off.
Wait, you mean like stop signs and yield signs in the community?
So, but eventually that's what we want to do is put a pit out there and put the ball into it and secure it so it doesn't walk away.
I'm sure the mayor's budget could accommodate that.
Yeah.
Cement pad. Right, Seth?
We need to do another amended budget.
Yeah. We might have to wait until July 1.
Well,
I guess it doesn't
like I
matter.
said,
Yeah. We just,
We'll put it up there for the ball game, and then from there, we'll put it somewhere, and then we'll work on getting it located out there.
Okay.
So.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate everybody coming out tonight and participating in our city council meeting and the work session. Next week will be a work session meeting. So like I said a few different times, if you want to come and listen in on that and participate on those agenda items, that would be a great time and place to do so. So thank you.
They're always open.
No, we don't record work sessions. At least we
Except
don't
for this one.
broadcast.
Well, yeah.
Independent work session.
Independent work session.
We record them, we don't broadcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got that.
There is a need for a closed session tonight, Mayor, for character and competence of individuals.
Okay. So
I'll make a motion.
Make that motion.
I feel moved to make the motion to adjourn into convene into closed session for character and competence of the individual.
I will second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Real property, real property,
And
real
real property,
property.
yes.
You're doing
Okay.
great.
Stan